Welcome to week 11. This week we will discuss about the malicious code, the main types of malware, and the impact it creates on PC users, systems, and organizations. The malware includes the different kinds of virus, its life cycle, and how it works in a system. Next, we dig deep into the anatomy of attacks and its various phases. Also, the reasons why hackers hack into the systems and their motives behind the attacks are discussed. Finally, we conclude with the various tools and techniques that can be used to detect and prevent the attacks. This week, we will satisfy the course learning objective 10 to describe how malicious attacks, threats, and vulnerabilities impact an IT infrastructure. Malicious code is used to describe any code that can be part of a software system or script that is intended to cause undesired effects, damage to a system, or security breaches. It is an application security threat that cannot be just controlled by the usual antivirus software alone. Malicious code also includes a wide category of system security terms like malwares, virus, worms, which will be discussed in the coming slides. So, how can it take control of a system and lodge in a system? Malicious code gives the attacker the privilege to access a computer remotely. This is otherwise known as the application backdoor. The backdoors are usually created with malicious intent to gain access to confidential information of an organization or a user and is further exploited by the hackers. Using this access, the attacker then spreads the malicious code using a malware or virus. This can be detected by checking for degradation in performance, unknown process running in the task manager, and by scanning for suspicious ports. It can be prevented by using a firewall or using an updated antivirus or IDS. Malware, or otherwise known as malicious software, is intentionally developed to cause damage to a computer, server, or client. In the past, these softwares were developed as part of experiment or pranks, which was how the first internet worm came into existence. However, in the present times, these malwares are being used by the black hat hackers to steal information mainly for financial intent. The chart explains the malwares that are being widely used, with the Trojan horses, virus, and worms topping the list. A computer virus is a malicious program that can self-replicate by making copies of itself into various programs. In simple terms, the virus can spread on its own into files and other software systems. And the intent of spreading a virus is to infect the systems that are vulnerable and gain admin access. A successful breach can cause serious issues for the user and can sometimes do billions of damage to an organization. The typical life cycle of a computer virus takes place in 4 stages, and we will discuss it. The first stage being the dormant phase, the virus has identified a victim's computer. Yet, it does not start causing trouble until the trigger phase lets it know that it's ready for action. During the propagation phase, the virus multiplies by inserting and making copies of itself into other systems, code, or documents. These copies are not often identical and are morphed in such a way that it makes it even more difficult for detection. In the triggering phase, the virus is activated and it starts to perform its intended function. The trigger can be started by simple events like double-clicking an infected link or downloading an infected email attachment. Finally, in the execution phase is where the actual destruction of virus starts, like corrupting a file, deleting sensitive information from disks, and crashing a system. Let's discuss some of the common types of virus in this slide. The system or the boot record infectors are known for infecting the executable code that can be found in a specific system area on a disk. As the name implies, they attach to the USB thumb drives and are transmitted to the computer. The file infector virus come attached with web program files such as .com or .exe files. Hence, when you download infected execution files from malicious sites, it can be infected with file infectors. As name suggested, the microvirus target particularly the macro language commands in various applications of Microsoft Office. The overwrite virus is designed to destroy a file or application data. The virus, after it had attacked a computer, it starts to destroy its files or data by overwriting with its own code. The polymorphic virus is a type of virus that is difficult to be identified with the usual antivirus softwares because it alerts its signature patterns and alters it whenever it replicates. The resident virus gets installed on the computer through various file transmission mediums and are known to live in the RAM memory. It is quite hard to recognize the virus, and it can sometimes be more difficult to remove a resident virus. Multipartite virus is known to spread through multiple ways. It can be infectious and is known to perform unauthorized actions in the operating system. It sometimes affects both the boot sector and the executable files parallelly. The space filler virus has another name called the cavity virus. It is named so because it fills up the empty spaces between the code and hence does not cause any damage to the file. So how does the file infector virus works? It exhibits the classic replicate and attack behavior. And due to the wide popularity of Microsoft Windows-based operating systems, these infect are specifically targeted. Although the Windows systems have become common targets, it does not mean all other operating systems are immune to malware, and the systems operated by Linux and Apple OS have also started facing a number of attacks at a rapid rate. The same case with the tablets, smartphones, and other devices, as we know only few users take the time to secure their mobile devices. Hence, this attacks more hackers. Also, they typically attack program files with .com or .exe file extensions. For example, Windows executes .com files before it executes the .exe files. It creates this file in the same directory path as the real program. When the user runs the program, the operating system calls the malware instead of the legitimate program. After the virus finishes, it simply executes the command to start the original program. The next is a system or boot sector virus works. This virus destroys a sector in a system or a boot device. It gains its access from the bootstrap program. Typically, master boot record infectors perform their tasks of spreading the virus and then return the control to the legitimate master boot record. These infectors commonly load instructions that can bypass the ROM-based system services. Loading at this level allows the virus to intercept all normal applications and operating system hardware requests. These requests include functions such as opening and closing file and file directory services. This type of virus can also execute other types of malicious code routines and cover its own tracks. A rootkit is known as malicious software that is hidden deep inside a PC and can sometimes remain undetectable. Although the software in its own way cannot cause any damage, but the worst part is it can conceal the worms, bot, and malware. This has root access to the user's computer, which may be gained by inducing a virus to a software. Hence, it is known to be highly dangerous for users' privacy. The virus collects the sensitive information from the user's system, such as passwords, data, and financial information. It further damages the computer and causes it to malfunction and relay spams. Rootkit can be infected in a device and can spread either by sharing infected disks or drives as well. It may sometimes also be pre-installed in a newly purchased computer. Next is the ransomware. It is a type of malicious software or malware that is in such a way that the owner of a system or data can be denied access until a ransom is paid. It is typically known to spread through phishing emails or by visiting an infected website unknowingly. Ransomware can be devastating to an individual or an organization. Anyone with important data stored on their computer or network is at risk, including government or law enforcement agencies and healthcare systems. Recovery can be a difficult process that may require the services of a reputable data recovery specialist, and some victims pay to recover their files. However, there is no guarantee that individuals will recover their files if they pay the ransom. Let's discuss some other types of malwares in this slide. Spam. It involves sending junk mails and unwanted messages to a large number of people, usually done for advertisement purpose, but it is also used as a tool to send virus and worms. The most common spam is email spam. It also occurs in different media like a news group, social network sites, and in instant messaging. The term computer worm came into the picture in 1988 by a graduate student from Cornell University named Robert Tapan Morris. It is the standalone malware program that spreads itself to other connected computers by using their security failures. Unlike viruses, worms won't modify or destroy any files on the computer. However, they are harmful in some way like consuming bandwidth and causes network traffic. Logic bomb is a piece of code intentionally inserted into the software system and triggered to perform malicious attacks when certain conditions were not met. Some virus attacks their host system on a specific time and date like Friday the 13th and April Fool's Day attacks. Next is the malicious add-ons that are additional functionality the user might be using while surfing the internet. It's something that looks like normal add-on but contains trojans or any other virus inside. In 2010, developers in Mozilla found two add-ons with the Trojan in it before they found it was downloaded by thousands of users. Mozilla was using single engine to scan the add-ons, which was undetected. Thereafter, they started using more than one engine to scan the add-ons before launching into the main library. The malicious active content refers to the malicious code inserted into the scripting language. It is typically downloaded from the internet while accessing particular sites and gets executed without the user's permission and control. Malicious active content is used to embed virus and worms in it. Next, the botnet is a term that is a combination of robots and network. A botnet is the number of interconnected devices like computers, mobiles, and IoT devices whose security has been compromised and used by the attacker to perform distributed denial of service attacks. A Trojan horse is also a sort of malware that's typically disguised as legitimate computer code. Trojans are utilized by hackers after they gain access to a user's PC. The users are often tricked into downloading and executing the Trojans on their systems. Once this Trojan has been activated in your system, they'll be ready to spy on you and steal your sensitive knowledge data. In contrast to the other viruses and worms, Trojans don't seem to be capable of self-replication. Let me provide an example to show how it works. When you think you have received an email from someone you know and click on the attachment to download it. But the truth is the email is from a hacker and the file you clicked on and downloaded and opened has gone on to install a malware on your device, and when you run the program it can spread to other files and damage it. Next is the injection attacks, and this conferred with a broad category of attack vectors that enable a hacker to provide untrusted input to a program, and the inputs are unknowingly processed by the user, and the command or query which can alter the entire program execution. Some of the command injection attacks are listed in the slide. In the cross-scripting attack, the hacker injects a JavaScript, usually into a web application, and then be executed within a user's browser. In the SQL injection, the hacker injects few queries that can be used to delete or modify the database. LDAP injection is used to gain permission and modify the contents of a LDAP tree. The code injection may be used for a full web server compromise. This code may be used to execute the OS commands, which may provide the attacker with the permission he needs to run the corrupted script in a web application. In this slide, let's discuss about a few more attacks. First, the spyware. It is a type of malware that is used to collect and get information from the target system without any trace. It is not only used by the criminal organization, but is also used by companies who use spyware to collect data from the user. Next, the adware. It is an unwanted software designed to throw advertisements on your screen. It generates revenue for its developers by automatically running ads without the user controls. It records the user's location and behavior of buying and viewing habits, and they might sell the data of the user to others. Next, phishing is a type of social engineering attack, often used to steal user data, including login credentials and credit card numbers. It happens when the attacker portrays as a legitimate or trusted entity. The recipient is then tricked into entering their information like username, password, or clicking malicious link, which can lead to the installation of malware. The freezing of the system as part of a ransom attack also occurs. Next is home page hijacking. It is nothing but the unauthorized changes that may occur in a web browser. This type of malware has infected many computers and may also lead to a slowdown in operation and redirects to unwanted websites. This can also make unwanted pop-ups appear, which may alert the users to click it and install the virus. In the web page defacement, the physical appearance of a web page is altered by cybercriminals or activists to sometimes express their social or political cause. This is sometimes called as the electronic graffiti. Next, using the denial of service attack, the hacker can make a system or network unavailable to its intended user by flooding the system with unwanted requests and overload it, thereby preventing the system from performing its usual functionality. Defense in depth is an approach in cybersecurity in which a step-by-step protective approach takes place, where the defense mechanisms are layered so that the data and systems are protected in such a way that even if one layer of protection fails, the next layer can provide some protective measure to prevent the attack. Since there are different kinds of attacks that are cropping up every day, it is not possible to protect the system with just one layer of defense. A defense method which works for one attack may not work for the other, and this is where the defense in-depth architecture comes into picture. The intrusion detection and prevention system is used to detect, block, and prevent the attack before it could occur. The antivirus software was originally designed to scan for any malwares, detect the intrusions, prevent it, and remove the virus from the system before any damage could be done to it. Antivirus works by scanning new files or allows the users to schedule time to run the scan and then check for any known malicious patterns which may indicate the presence of a malware. Network monitors and analyzers are used to monitor the network traffic constantly, and in case of any suspicious network activity, it immediately notifies and sends alert to the network admin. Honeypots and honeynets are systems that may look like the actual system but is mainly used to lure the hackers to a dummy system and tricks them to look like an original system. When any hacker tries to enter a honeypot, an intimation is immediately sent that the system is under attack and provides time to the organization to retaliate for the attack and gives more information about the attacker behavior. There are various categories of hackers and each have a motive behind their attack. Few of them hack for money, like for example, they steal the data and sell the information gained for money, and a few for a revenge or social cause. But most of them do it just for fun and to experience the thrill behind it, such that they just want to steal the information and leak it, or hijack the sites and use it to spread malwares to personal computers. Hackers are always waiting for a vulnerability or a loophole to take charge of a system by extracting the information they need. For example, they can break into a system, steal a customer's personal information, then use the information for money transfers or taking a loan, etc. In this lecture, we first discuss about the impact of malicious code and malware on systems and organizations. Then we saw the explanation of various types of malwares and in detail discuss about the virus, its life cycle and how it works. Later we discussed about the anatomy of an attack, various phases of an attack, purpose and what motivates an attacker. The final discussion was about the various tools and techniques used for intrusion detection and prevention.